Michael Longmore is going to give us a sum up of the day. So, big round of applause for Michael. Michael is the leads Merri Creeks Management Committee's Ecological Restoration Program. He's a restoration ecologist with almost 2 decades of experience managing grassy communities throughout Melbourne and Western Victoria. He probably knows more than anyone. Okay, Michael.
Thanks, Adrian. Okay, so I'll try and keep this pretty brief because it's been a long day and the pub is calling and my voice is about to disappear. But yeah, I guess the reason they've got me to stand up here is to try and bring together a few themes from today, and I think the main theme that stands out is the theme of hope. In this grassland world, it can be very easy to fall into depression when yet another, roadside gets accidentally sprayed out or deliberately ploughed and turned into crops, or somebody dumps thousands of cubic metres of asbestos on top of a grassland, or a growling grass, no, not growling grass frog, what's the other one? Golden sun moth offset gets slashed for 10 years and all the native plants drop out and all that's left is needlegrass and moths. There's endless things to upset us and make us lose hope, but we've seen some really wonderful examples today to show that the extinction vortex is not an inevitable thing. There is the possibility of grasslands persisting. We've seen some wonderful examples of greater recognition and acceptance of First Nations ecological knowledge. We've seen examples of resources being provided to enable First Nations practice management of country. We've seen examples of fire regimes that are actually nuanced and aren't just a matter of light things up around the edges and burn it into the middle and cook everything, but take your cues instead from country and what country is telling us before we light it on fire. And we've seen examples of what one madman with a backpack can do in a field of serrated tussock that everybody else has given up on. So yeah, the inevitable decline, well, it's not an inevitable decline. There's certainly all sorts of problems that we still face. For example, how do we scale up the native seed industry so that we can actually have enough seed to fulfil the tasks that we need to fulfil? And how can we clone Rick Van Coolen and set loose hundreds and hundreds of Rick Van Coolens in the Western Grassland Reserve to knock serrated tussock on the head once and for all? So there's some huge challenges ahead of us, but there's also lots of examples to inspire us and show us that decline is not inevitable. We're not necessarily going to get sucked into the vortex, and we can bring things back from the brink. On the topic of bringing things back from the brink, how do I change the slide? Oh, it's only this one. Okay, all right. Oh yeah, he's combined my slides. So you can see this giant QR code here. I'd like to talk about bringing the Wallen wetlands back from the brink. So the Wallen wetlands are a series of swamps in the upper reaches of the Merri Creek catchment between Beveridge and Wallen. They once supported, before they were drained in the 1940s, they supported vast amounts of water birds, brolgas, magpie geese and all those sorts of things. And they continue to support a range of threatened ecosystems and species, seasonal herbaceous wetlands, swamp everlastings, pale swamp everlastings, swamp fireweeds, and various other things with swamp in their name. The Wallen wetlands were the subject of a feasibility study that the state government commissioned a few years ago, looking at the potential to establish a giant regional parklands in the top of the Merri Creek catchment. The parklands would cover about 3,000 hectares. They would protect these valuable wetlands. They would provide open space for people in the suburbs that are springing up all around Beveridge and Wallen for recreation. And they would also play a really crucial role in mitigating the impacts of catastrophic flooding, which could otherwise move down the Merri Creek and flood all these beautiful inner suburbs, Brunswick, Northcote, etc. So the state government has a feasibility study recommending that it establish this giant regional parkland, but as we've seen in the Western Grassland Reserve, it's hard enough just to establish 1,000 hectares of reserve, even when you've got public acquisition overlays and whatever else in place. In the Upper Mary catchment, there aren't really any planning controls to enable this parkland to be established, and so we have a campaign and a petition calling on the Victorian government to do the first steps of establishing the parkland, which is getting the parkland recognised in the planning scheme. So we've got a petition out at the moment. You can find it either by scanning that code, or there are some flyers up at the table. We've got some paper copies of the petition up at the table as well for those of you who prefer to do it the old-fashioned way. But yeah, we need every bit of help we can get to get these parklands established, so we can bring them back from the brink of destruction as well. That's probably enough from me, I think, so I'll hand it over to Adrian again. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Getting towards the end, okay. Yes, sign the petition. Do sign the petition. Next, almost final speaker is Tein McDonald. Tein is the, what is she? Tein is an AABR stalwart, that's the phrase. Since 2010 was AABR's recent past president of 12 years, is current board member and chairs the accreditation subcommittee. She, most importantly, co-authored the national standards for the practice of ecological restoration in Australia. So please say welcome to Tein.
Thank you very much, and there will be also a third edition of the SER standards for the practice of ecological restoration coming out in a couple of months as well, so that's great. Yeah, look, I'm here on behalf of AABR, the Australian Association of Bush Regenerators. We are one of the co-hosts and helped facilitate the forum, the workshop. Now, I just want to say what great talks we've had today. It's been really inspiring. Yeah, Michael was talking about the ease of falling into depression about grassland, and that's been going on for decades. But to see this revitalisation among those who love grasslands and who are becoming very, very adept at restoring them is very inspiring. So the advances in techniques in the last 3+ decades has been astounding. So that's techniques in harnessing regeneration, the subtleties of it, and also in reconstruction. So rebuilding ecosystems from scratch. You would never want to see that used as an excuse for destroying them, but in the end, that can be a very important technique for reconnecting genuine remnants. So AABR has been around for 40 years. We're having our 40th anniversary this year. It's a national organisation, but we've had a Victorian branch, AABR Vic, that has been in place for 7 years. So they're very mature now. That hasn't probably been emphasised enough today, that you can all join AABR Vic and help to do fabulous things like this in Victoria. Now, some of the recent activities they've been involved in, they've spearheaded a recent submission by AABR to the Australian Bureau of Statistics to recommend recognition of ecological restoration as an occupation with a unique code. Now, you might think that this is, you know, something we can just assume already exists. It does not. There is a definition of a bush regeneration assistant, which is effectively a labourer's position, but there's no recognition of ecological restoration as a skilled practice and an occupation in its own right. And so AABR Vic and the whole of AABR put forward a recommendation that 4 new distinct occupation levels in ecological restoration be recognised by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. This allows then us to categorise our employment, gain better conditions, and also then survey how many people are working in these fields over the decades. So this is a really great advance that's just recently happened, and we really hope that attention is paid to this. And also, of course, AABR Victoria has an accreditation system consistent with, it's part of the national accreditation system that AABR runs, and there are 6+ assessors in Victoria. So if you meet the criteria of a skilled regenerator, and you can check that out on the website of AABR, you know, don't hesitate to look into the possibility of accreditation. It helps the industry, it helps you, it helps your employer, it helps the bush. That's what it's all about. Now, back to Victoria. I lived in New South Wales, in Sydney for a long period of time, in northern New South Wales, and now in Cooma, so I'm kind of getting closer to Victoria. And Cooma and the whole southern tablelands has a lot of grassland. I've been looking into grassland dynamics and grassland as a subject of restoration for some decades now, and I've been always terribly impressed with the work in Victoria because it's some of the best in the world. But another thing about what's unique about Victoria, and it is the people. I mean, Victorians, I don't know what it is, it could be trams or something, but you're different. You're brilliant, you're great, you're excellent human beings, you're cultured, you know, you've got all sorts of things going for you. And one of the best things that AABR Vic did early on in its life was to have bush regen in the pub. And I'm encouraging AABR Vic to do that again, and possibly even to have comedy in the pub on a bush regen theme, or, you know, poetry slams in the pub on a bush regen theme, or music, regen songs on a bush regen theme, which is definitely... even art shows, you know, so bringing culture into what we do as ecologists and practical ecologists is really important. Just out of interest, how many people are there who get involved in the arts in one way or the other, whether it's comedy or poetry or music and painting? Can you just put your hands up? Okay, that's not a bad slice, yeah. So keep your eye out. There should be opportunities to fuse the arts and our messages. It's just another way of capturing attention and helping to communicate the importance of our cause. Thank you very much.
So close to the pub, so close. I would just like to say it's been such a fantastic day. Like, what the energy in this room has been extraordinary. The numbers of you have been extraordinary. It's been just really good. There's obviously a lot of work that has to be done. We'll do another one of these next year or the year after. It's obviously like we've got some momentum here, and it's just great to see so much grassy action and grassy love in one place. There are a lot of people to thank. Not going to list all of them, but it's just like a huge thank you to the sponsors in particular for helping make this thing happen the way it did today. We've got the organising committee, you know who you are, and all our volunteers. Are there volunteers in the room? Can you stand up? Can we just say thank you, 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 thank you to you, please. And really, most importantly of all, I want to say thank you to Suzanne Pritchard. She's over there in the background. Everyone, that's Suzanne. She made this happen. So it's like big, fantastic. And that's it, I think. Rob, are you lurking in the background there? Almost there.
And a big thank you to Adrian. And I just think it was such a great mix of speakers. I like the idea of Jais of the 3 science streams, and I think it was a good combination of that. You know, First Nations and practitioners and scientists all given their 2 bobs worth. And yeah, thanks Michael and MCMC. It was just an idea to have a forum, and thought, oh, what about going with Adrian? And it all just happened after that. Thanks to Suzanne just does it so well. Just gets a forum happening. So let's do it again. Thank you, Adrian.
And one final joke, people. Why did the bush regenerators cross the road? To get to the Napier Hotel. Good night.